record to the cloud.
All right.
So you'll recognize the living room.
Of course. Right now, right now using Celsius. Celsius. Okay, so yes.
So
with.
right, on with is Celsius a Ponzi.
Yeah.
So next week, I forgot. I don't have my notes about what next week was going to be. Did you remember what we were going to do? Was it going to be on staking, or was it going to be on smart contracts? Or you had two companies that you were thinking about talking about? Or was it going to be about stablecoin?
There's two coins. I mean, God, I can't remember now off the top of my head what the coins were. Oh yeah, I do remember now, because we had mentioned when it comes to this was last week, we were talking about security and having transparency on the blockchain, where there are certain chains, secret chain being one of them. There's another one that's a little bit more prevalent, that the USP of the chain itself is that the the transactions get mixed up with other transactions on the blockchain, so that the ability for someone to track a crypto wallet. So for instance, if I had this secret chain coin, for someone to say this, like, we can say this is someone's wallet, that is like, the wallet is a public key, that is easy enough to track. But if you're using a specific coin, and then the coin, we can't quite, if the USP of the coin is such that it mixes up, like, every transaction that happens with that coin is bundled together with every other user that also transacts with that coin, so that the pinpointing of the wallet user is difficult. Like, the point here is that you can be transacting in secret, because I think that the thing that we came across in last week's discussion was the ability for when we were talking about the centralized coins,
central bank digital currency,
central,
right?
yeah, and also basically for a central entity to pinpoint a user and to stop that said user from making transactions. Like, if the goal here is complete decentralization, such that you can still transact and hide your transactions, can that be made possible by a coin? Because I think one of the things that we were saying, in the near future, within our lifetimes, if the proposition is that we are moving towards a governing body that wants to provide, I mean, China being the prime example, it wants its users, it wants its citizens to use the Chinese digital currency. Is it fair to say that for them to use, say, secret coin, that breaking laws? Is that them becoming bad actors? Or is this all part of this growing crypto ecosystem, where an individual who wishes to use cryptocurrency, their goal in being hidden isn't based in anything nefarious. It's just that desire to maintain agency without having condemnation by a government that might or might not be hoping for its citizens to use purely its central bank digital currency. I mean, so the question, I guess, when it comes to next week would be the issuance of coins like Secret Coin. I don't know exactly what the question would be, but it's something around the lines of, is the use of secret coins bad, or something simple like that.
Right, okay. So does Secret Coin reconcile the contradiction between transparency and decentralization or something? Is it?
Yeah,
Does I hesitate to use bad because we've used it once before. So does secret
Hello，
Hello.
哎，我就给你看一眼，我是做这个运动。
No, Mom, right now we're talking about cryptocurrency. We can talk about this later, okay?
Yeah， 我知道你们在 series， 我有2个问题，待会儿我怕忘了，先跟你们说一声。
No, 现在不讲，我过1个小时跟爸爸讲完时候才讲，或者 yeah， 没有什么或者 we'll just talk later, okay? Just wait an hour, please, so we can get this done first.
OK， 但那你别收线哈，因为我刚才也问了爸爸，所以呢
Okay.
呀，你别收线，我们就对着这个讲，关于那个
Okay.
因为我看了你转了3800，对不对？
Yeah, we'll talk about this later. Yeah.
我就问你一声，你那1200转了吗？
I nail. We haven't done that. I just one thing at a time. One thing at a time.
So does Secret Coin solve the contradiction between contradictions between transparency, confidentiality, and transparency, confidentiality, and what would be the third one?
Well, I mean, so yeah. Confidentiality,
Transparency and
permissions.
and trust, and I want to say trustworthiness. You see what I mean?
Yeah, trustless.
Confidentiality, transparency, and
confidential, transparent.
Confidentiality, transparency, and security.
Security. Yeah, security. Yeah.
Okay, so security, confidentiality, and security, and transparency.
Next week.
Okay, so solve contradiction.
Secret network. Secret.
And so does Secret Coin or coins, I suppose.
Yeah, secret coins. Yeah, but secret coin is a coin, but there are other coins
Secret
that have
coins.
There
Are they
are
called secret coins?
Yeah, I mean, it's a secret network, and then on secret network you have the secret coin. I don't know whether there's other coins on the secret network.
Okay, why don't we call it then? Leave it at secret coin. Does secret coin?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that's pretty intense.
Well, I mean, this goes directly in line with what you were saying when it comes to a growing transparent society.
Yeah.
That learns to adopt a central bank digital currency. The premise that at least you were leading with is that we're in time only going to continue to forego agency, the greater transparency, the more of a transparent society we live in, the less
confidential it is.
The less confidential it is, and in turn also the less individual agency we can claim if we wish to live in society.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does Secret Coin kind of usurp all that, or can we have our cake and eat it too?
Yeah. Transparency, confidentiality, security. And so that you've actually added liberty in there as well.
Yeah, liberty. Yeah,
And if you want that, then
Yeah.
because that was your initial concern.
well, yeah. The goal, I think, the goal, or that's definitely a goal for people who are not transacting, but at least people who are buying into Bitcoin more than just a short-term trade. People who buy into the premise,
Ethos.
the ethos around I get to maintain my buying power, and no governing body can stop me from transacting. And I know that you've already mentioned how governing bodies can stop you in so far that they can locate your wallet, and then in locating your digital wallet, they can't turn off your digital wallet per se, but they can, what they have done in Canada, and what they'll trace basically the transactions on this public chain. So if the transactions can no longer be traced, if you use a certain chain, does that then provide that missing, well, not missing piece, or let's say, in providing that agency on, if that is the unique selling proposition, then does that sense of regained agency, is that like gonna come in contention with governments? Will there be governments that say, well, you just can't, by using this chain, you are a bad actor?
Yeah.
Can you currently see my computer screen?
I can currently see your computer screen. It says rewards received.
4
4
cents.
cents.
Yeah. So I don't have much on Celsius currently, because, as you know, I have most of my funds either trading or on MetaMask. So I have whatever it is, like $100 on MetaMask. Stay signed in, so you can see this. So I'll close that out. So this is my let's make this full screen. This is Celsius. I have I guess 5 Celsius coins, and that gives me 6.68% APY. DAI is a stable coin. I'm not going to get into the semantics of this stable coin versus another stable coin like USDC, USDT. DAI is another US dollar stable coin. Polygon, that is a layer 2 solution to Ethereum. And that there's not, you can see over here, 9.52% APY, and it's paid out every week to me. I mean, you just saw it was like 4 cents, because I have in total no more than like $34 here. This is US dollars. But yeah, it's this is the platform. This is the Celsius platform. You can send coins. The great thing about Celsius is that it does away with gas fees. So where if I wanted to, say, send a cryptocurrency to send Ethereum, for example, to you, in the act in sending requires gas. Like, that's what the validators, they get paid. I mean, basically, gas is the transaction cost. And so when you send something, when you receive something, any transaction, any movement costs the owner of the asset a little bit of the asset. So the great thing about Celsius is that they cover all those fees. So yeah, I mean, that in itself is nice. But obviously, more than that, when holding on to, like, if you don't want to do any trading, if you don't want to get involved in DeFi, like as I showed you 2 weeks ago, when it comes to putting your assets, your crypto assets onto, say, Beefy Finance, or that's an auto compounder. But if you don't want to get involved into yield farming, then the most basic of basic yield farms is essentially Celsius, and they provide their security. It says here platinum. Platinum basically means the amount of Celsius you have in proportion to, so it says right here, Celsius, keep your Celsius above 25% to keep loyalty. So the more, if you have at least 25% of your assets in Celsius, then you get a bump up in the APY. So you get a higher reward given your ability to hold at least 25% of your crypto assets in Celsius. But because, as you saw a couple weeks back, that the APY rewards potentially, well, not potentially, they are significantly higher, but then the risks are also significantly higher on decentralized platforms, where Celsius is, it's a full-on centralized company. So, and Alex Mashinsky, he's the founder of it, and he does AMAs every week. So he's a very public figure in that regard. People have he has a lot of credibility. People appreciate his presence in the crypto world. Yeah, so for all, and I guess if we go to the Celsius website, can you still see my web browser?
Yep.
Do you see this right? Yep. So I think it says right here, 1.6 million people for crypto. It says up to 17%. Trying to see where available coins. I guess certain coins might provide. So the synthetics, where is the 17%? I'm not too sure which coin actually gives you 17%. Avalanche, but these are all the coins at 4%, 1%. Anyway, so this is just their main site. 1.6 million people use Celsius, 22.8 billion in assets, 1.7 million users, 1 billion in yield rewards paid since 2018. That's Alex Mashinsky over there. Yeah, and that's pretty much the long and the short of it. You get paid every week. You can send and receive. I mean, you can, that's always also the benefit with people within the network. You can, I guess, send and receive. So say if you were on Celsius, much like e-transferring in Canada, you can send and receive crypto assets free of charge too. What else? It's kind of a long and the short of it. If you enroll someone, you get $30 reward paid out in BTC, $30 in BTC, transfer $200 or more, and receive $30 in BTC. And $50 in Bitcoin for each successful referral. Share your referral code and your friends, family sign up. You'll each earn $50 in Bitcoin. When your referred user makes it, transfers at least $400 or more, and holds Celsius for 30 days. So I signed up Paula a year back. Want to say hello, Paula?
Am I on the camera?
No, camera's over here.
Hello.
What's your take on using Celsius? How's Celsius been treating you over the past? Has it been like a year now?
Yeah.
Been like it's just about a year.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Do you think it's a Ponzi? Does it seem like a scam?
I honestly don't know enough about it to tell it's a Ponzi, but I've been getting money. So like it can't be that bad because I didn't put that much into it. So if I'm getting money, I don't know who
Well,
the
There's your
very
camera.
small investors would be, you know.
Yeah.
It seems legit.
I mean, just in regards to how.
It
Look-
seems long term, set up for the long term,
Yeah.
you know.
Can you hear Paula right now?
Yep, yeah.
Yeah. You have any questions for Paula?
Oh my God.
How many transactions do you do on a monthly basis at Celsius?
Transact. We literally just use Celsius to hold the crypto assets. There's no
Yeah.
there's no transactions happening.
It's like a little bank.
Yeah.
It's just like a little bank.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's literally why it's motto on its main website is unbake yourself in 4 steps.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't have all of my life savings in there,
No, just have about.
but I
3,000.
trust that platform the most to hold like my current biggest investment.
And
And I'm just gonna let it sit there.
pretty much the goal. That's the goal. That's the practice so far. So that's yeah.
I'm
And
very uninformed, but it feels good.
Any questions?
No, I think that you've hit the
Oh,
nail on
I
the head.
guess sounds not going to. I guess I'll put back my headphones. Yeah.
I think that you've hit the nail on the head,
Which
which is that you're looking at a bank. Celsius
bank.
is a bank.
Celsius is a bank. Right.
Now that has both pros and cons.
Mhm.
Um,
You can go.
it's so to the extent that it is a bank,
Yeah.
the assets that Celsius invests in
Mhm.
are the assets of Celsius. They're not
Right.
your assets,
Right.
right? Celsius owes you,
Mhm.
it borrows money from you,
Right.
right? And it borrows money in different currencies.
Mhm.
And some of the way it borrows money is it's borrowing money in its own debt, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, it would rather have that as its obligation than having other currencies that it has to pay in. So what you're looking at is a bank.
Right.
And it's trying to mimic a bank as much as possible and trying to mimic an online bank that has reduced fees for transactions. In fact, no fees for transactions.
Right.
And so it's trying to be an e-bank.
Right.
And it has a very clean interface. And it also is trying to get more people to invest in the bank. The
Right.
size of its assets,
Mhm.
it's, I suppose if you looked at the whole banking community in the United States and says, what's the average size of the bank? Because there's a lot of small banks in the United States, you'd probably end up with about the size of Celsius. So it's actually a middle-sized bank from an American point of view. Obviously, it's a minuscule bank from a Canadian point of view because Canada doesn't have very many banks and most of the banks are big. So if you look at the global banking community, it's relatively small. But if you look at, I think, the American banking community, it's about a middle-sized bank. So there, with a bank, of course, you get some other things that you don't get with Celsius. You get a regulator that audits the banks on probably a periodic basis. Maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's annually, maybe, and they get statements coming in of the assets of the bank and the capital of the bank and the management of the bank on a periodic basis. So you forego that. You also get with a a bank deposit insurance, so that the government guarantees up to a certain amount your deposits, even if the bank fails. So you forego that. Also, it's unlike an investment in a mutual fund, which some would consider to be like a bank, because there you'd have clarity with respect to the assets that are being invested, at least on a historical basis periodically. Whereas with Celsius, you don't know what they're doing, and they've never been audited, and never going to be audited. And with a bank also, you have typically with the deposits, you have the undertaking of the bank to make payment immediately. Okay, if you have a savings deposit or a checking deposit, then they have to make payment on your request for payment. Whereas with Celsius, it goes the other way. At any time, they can say, we're not going to make payment. And that's written into the terms. So it is, in the banking world, it would be considered highly opaque. Also, obviously, they say that they're not a bank, because if they said that they were a bank taking deposits, then they'd have to be legally regulated by virtually any jurisdiction in the world. If they're in that jurisdiction, they'd have to be regulated as a bank. So I guess the question then is, do you believe it? And so it is a question of trust. And so clearly, Alex Marshinsky, he's a very impressive individual. And he has founded companies, I guess, in the past that have been very impressive. And he's obviously very clever. So do you want to give money, to lend money to essentially a very clever individual? For him to do basically whatever he wants to do. He says he's doing this in order to empower you. Now, with entrepreneurs that say that, I always put in my mind a little question mark, a little thing that goes off the back of my mind. Is he really trying to help you, or is he really trying to help himself? Now, with Charles Ponzi, I think that Charles was really trying to help himself, but when he first started the Ponzi scheme, he actually thought he was going to make money. Okay. And he only realized that the logistics were going to kill him in his scheme. And so he'd better think of other ways to make money. And while he was thinking of other ways to make money, he made sure that he had to get the new money coming in. The new money had to keep coming in. That's the nature of a Ponzi scheme. The nature of a Ponzi scheme, obviously, as you know, is that you need sufficient new money coming in to make payment to the obligations that you have to make, periodic payments to the existing investors, and make sufficient payments to the investors that are leaving. So if your investments do not achieve the yield that you've promised the investors coming in, then you have to make enough money coming in, and I have to get enough money coming in so that it can pay off your obligations to the existing investors. And it's this payment of the yield for the existing investors from the new principal coming in that is the Ponzi. And obviously, a Ponzi scheme can keep on going as long as you have that new money coming in. But just think of the mathematics. Every Ponzi scheme is doomed to failure.
Right.
Because the world's not infinite, right? So with Ponzi, with Charles Ponzi, it was basically 8 months, okay? But the return that he was promising was double your money in 90 days. And he shortened that to double your money in 45 days. And it was based on these US post office certificates
Mhm.
that were tradable in other post office jurisdictions,
Mhm.
right? They were mailback certificates. And he worked out that mailback certificates that were issued in Italy could be, that were then recognized in the United States because of the International Postal Accord, could be sent to the United States and cashed in. And that was an arbitrage profit.
Mhm.
The only problem was each of those certificates was only worth pennies.
Mm.
And you would have to have literally shipped boatloads of those securities, of those postal receipts from Italy to the United States in order to make payment on the amount of money that he was taking in investments.
Mhm.
And when the papers showed that, you know, he couldn't possibly be doing this because he would have had to have had many hundreds of times of the total amount of certificates, postal payback, send back certificates that the Italian government had ever issued. So obviously that wasn't how he was making money.
Right.
And when it became clear that he couldn't be making money on the Ponzi scheme, then it was clear that the Ponzi scheme was in fact a Ponzi scheme.
Right.
So I don't think that you, given the relatively low rates of return, I mean, low relative to that double your money in
Right.
5 days or 90 days,
Exactly. Yeah.
low rates of return. Alex Mershinsky's scheme could continue for a substantial period of time.
Yeah.
As long as he continues to get new money coming in. Let's say that he really can't do what he says he's doing.
Hmm.
And I don't know the economics of, basically you're talking about the economics of staking and of lending crypto.
Right.
And I don't think anybody knows the depth of those economics so that they can opine whether or not he can do this and make money.
Right. I mean, at
And
least
so
from
if we don't know, then
Mm.
and we can't get access to the books, then it's back to the trust. So that's,
Right.
that's what I wanted to say on it.
fair enough. So it's not a Ponzi, uh, given that two things. One, the yield rates are low, which relatively they are. He's not promising to double your investment in 90 or 60 or 45 days. Yeah, and on that very point, they're variable. They're not fixed at this 5% or 9%. They vary from week to week. So I have no doubt that if for whatever reason a market tanks, the market does tank, and when I mean it's reflected. Anytime the market does tank, then the APY shifts. So that, at least on some level, shows me that there isn't this bolstering of I'm going to make you a bunch of cash, and rather how do we maintain credibility on this platform, and we're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. There,
Right.
whenever I see.
You're right. It's not that it's not a Ponzi. It's
Mhm.
that if it is a Ponzi,
Mhm.
it can continue for a very long period of time,
Right.
as long as the money keeps coming in. So what I'm saying is what you've just said, which is
Mhm.
that it has elements of credibility that Charles Ponzi's scheme did not have.
Right.
But it could still be a Ponzi scheme if he is let's say that he's actually losing money.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now he can call it a day and go away,
Mhm.
or he can continue to be in business and continue to try to get the depositors to deposit new money. Now, what do you think that Alex Marshinsky would do in that condition?
Mashinsky, there's no R. Mashinsky.
Mashinsky, what do you
Yeah.
think that Alex Mashinsky would do?
What if he were to walk away and
No. If he had that choice, let's
to,
say that he's
yeah.
not making money.
right,
Let's say that he's done all the math, right?
right,
But he has overheads,
right,
okay?
right,
And that he's not making money.
right.
So he could lower the promised interest on all this stuff by 3%, right? And so some would be making nothing and some would be making 3%.
Mhm,
Or he could keep them at the level that they are now
mhm,
and keep getting those people to make new deposits. If he lowers it by 3% across the board,
mhm.
then he thinks he's not going to get new money coming in,
Right,
and that his platform will disappear. And if he keeps it at that 3% level, well, the new money keeps coming in. He could grow from a $20 billion bank
mhm,
into a $200 billion bank.
right.
And the question is, what do you think he would do in that condition? That's a very important question.
Like, what do you think Alex Mashinsky would do in the case where he's not making money, but he has to make a choice of whether to increase the APY or decrease the APY or
To maintain the APY and continue not making money,
money? Yeah,
but to have a positive cash flow because new people are coming in, or
right.
to decrease the APY
Yeah,
and have probably negative cash flow.
decrease the APY and have negative cash flow
Because his happy
less people-
investors would not be, you wouldn't be as
As
happy anymore. You
Right.
take money and put it elsewhere.
right.
So what do you think he would do in that condition?
I mean, my trust in the platform and him so far is that the thing that's I find tricky about this question is that, so in the situations where the APY of any asset has decreased, that in turn, that leads to him getting, again, yeah, we don't know what the books say. We don't know whether how much money he's making or losing. So the question of, well, what would he do? I mean, there's too many unknowns for me to even speculate beyond just saying that, I guess the trust in him,
Personally,
I mean, it's actually, the way I layer it is it's a trust. Like, if I'm willing to trust, let's say, in DeFi platforms where I don't know who the individual is, and there's some mechanism at play where there is yield being generated through these smart contracts, then someone who's exposed, like who's well known on some level, and granted, there's tons of bankers who are well known, and doesn't mean they can't be bad actors. So just because you're known doesn't prevent any scamming from happening. But I guess the trust that it's one thing to be known, and I guess it's another thing to continue to be a leader, to take a leadership role and to be engaged in the community. So when you're asking me what do I see him doing, I can't speculate on what his, I don't have enough details to get into the idea, understanding of how he runs his company or what he would do, what kind of calls he would make. But the overall perspective I have on him is that he's a trustworthy figure. That's, I can only make this generalized claim and not one that's like specified on, well, what kind of, how would he run his company? How does he run his company? I don't know. All I can see is so far so good.
right. But what I'm saying is that the so far so good for Charles Ponzi was 8 months. The
Mhm.
so far so good for Bernie Madoff
Mhm.
was about 20 years.
Fair enough.
Both of them were Ponzi schemes.
Mm.
Madoff collapsed in 20 years.
Mhm.
Charles Ponzi collapsed in 8 months.
Right.
My point is that both were basically telling lies. They were
Mm.
basically not doing what they said that they were doing. And your judgment of his character then is very important, right?
Right.
And you can't just say so far so good, because for Bernie Madoff, he kept returns
Mhm.
above the market, a couple of percentage points or 1 or 2 percentage points above the market consistently for 20 years.
Right.
And the result was, of course, that his lies had to compound and compound and compound, because he was in a much more transparent environment than
Mm.
either Charles Ponzi or Alex Mashinsky. So you have to then look at various activities of Mashinsky, and you have to say, well, does this mean that this person is trustworthy?
Mhm.
And then I then trust in him. But it's interesting that the whole rationale for DeFi
Mhm.
was based on the rationale for Bitcoin, the 2008 rationale.
Mhm.
And that rationale was for total transparency
Right.
and for decentralization.
Right.
And what you have in Mashinsky's platform is the
Yeah.
centralization
Yeah.
of a currency issuing bank
Yeah.
that tries to attract more people coming in and tries to get people to use the currency that it itself is issuing.
Right.
So I don't know. The only other question that I have about this is, what are the rules in its CEL, right? That's his currency.
So yeah. So exactly. Yeah.
So
Celsius coin.
what are the rules of CEL? Do you know what they are?
What do you mean by the rules?
Well, I mean, any token, any
Right. What's the unique selling proposition? I mean, Cell doesn't have. All I know is it's built on Ethereum, and to my knowledge, I haven't seen any outside of being able to be sent to other Cell users. Yeah, the unique selling proposition of Cell itself, I don't like what the use case of Cell. I don't personally have one. Yeah.
right? Because I mean, when I looked at it, it seemed a little on the hokey side.
Mhm.
And 50% of cells were basically in the hands of the investors,
Mhm.
right? Which
Mhm.
I suppose is basically Alex.
Mhm.
And then 25% were supposed to be out there already. So what I guess would be called the public float. I'm remembering this and I'm not sure I'm getting it right. But then another 25% were held in reserve, and they were held in reserve to be issued
Mhm.
when certain price points were hit
Mhm.
with respect to the trade into the US dollar.
Mhm.
So what this looks like is a quasi-stable coin
Mhm.
where it's being issued. And my only question is, well, what happens when it goes the other way? That is to say, if it appreciates in value. So is there I'm sorry, depreciates in value? Is that right? Anyway, you see, now I'm losing what my train of thought was, but it struck me that only one side of that bid-ask spread was being specified.
I see.
They were going to be issued if this thing went too high, but if this thing went too low, then were they going to be repurchased for US dollars? And I didn't see that. And then I thought, well, is this whole thing, I mean, with Bitcoin, it's absolutely clear
Mhm.
when the new currencies are being issued, when the new coins are being issued and to whom they're being issued.
Right.
And I wondered the extent to which this is just currency that can be issued whenever the bank feels that it wants to issue those currencies. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you can say it's built on Ethereum,
Mhm.
but any record can be placed on Ethereum. All Ethereum is just a decentralized ledger.
Yeah.
So built on Ethereum does not give the rules by which the currency operates.
Right.
And I wondered whether in your research you'd encountered what specifically those rules were and whether they were auditable or enforceable. So getting down to the nitty gritty, because it strikes me that getting the new money coming in is important.
Mhm.
Also, the rules and the extent to which he has power to
Mhm.
change the rules on when
Mhm.
he issues his currency is also important.
Right. Wondering if there's anything that breaks down Celsius review.
I
See
didn't
if
look at it
anything.
very much, really. I just looked at it for about, an hour yesterday, or because I knew we were doing this.
Right.
And when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, we're looking at a bank.
Yeah.
And I know that the question of stable coins
Yeah.
worries central bank regulators, banking regulators, partly because of the convertibility into their currencies.
Right.
And the undertaking that is taken at face value by the retail investors that go into their currencies.
Right now, just trying to see what I can find. Celsius, a sneak peek. Another picker symbol, the mysteries and code. Tech blockchain algorithm being the center stage of this cryptocurrency. The entire phenomenon, fundamental focus of this cryptocurrency is programmability. This allows the users not only benefit from a digital money perspective, but also using Cell for all marketplace transactions such as financial services, apps, games, to name a few, which can be built on the platform. As exampled above, Celsius enables developers to formulate and work on smart contracts, automatically implementing assignments. Doesn't say anything. Going through the various stages of development, Celsius has stuck with its plan to consistently upgrade the protocol to ensure improved usability, security, functionality, and decentralization. So Celsius offers a platform of curated offerings. The historical data. Volatility is the hallmark of any cryptocurrency. They have become notoriously famous for this trait. Celsius too, and no exception. It has also witnessed its ups and downs. It's not telling me anything. Is just giving me market price predictions. I don't really care. Ask the options of smart contracts happen. Can virtual currencies? No, this isn't telling me what I want to know. Celsius Network Review, crypto lending personified. Maybe get more here. Network peers, debit card, swap, Celsius credit card, Celsius X, Celsius cross-chain bridge. Which enables the creation of tokens and customer care. Celsius fees, loan.
Cell token. The Cell token is an ERC20 token running on the Ethereum network. It was launched in 2018, raised 50 million in its ICO. The ICO tokens were valued at 30 cents each. Let's see. After the ICO crashed to 3 cents, making it look like a project had little chance of profitability for early investors. By 2020, things looked better, although Cell token still valued at less than the ICO price, below 15 cents. Holding was paying off. It was 46 cents, just telling me the movement. The fact that Cell has moved above $2 is interesting because just 50% of the nearly 700 million total supply was issued at the ICO. Half of those went to the Celsius team. The other remaining 50% was locked in smart contracts that allow release, is what you were saying, for new loans when Cell is valued at more than $1.50 for 10 days or longer. That milestone has been passed. The rest of these tokens can be released for new loans if Cell is valued above $3 for more than 30 days. Fast forward to 2021, the Cell token saw a parabolic rise in the first half of the year, reaching an all-time high of $8 before the market stopped in May, and Cell came tumbling down in the broader crypto market. In Q1 of 2022, the Cell token price continues to struggle with the rest of the crypto market. So Cell tokens can be used to send and receive payments, receive interest, pay interest on loans up to 25% or less.
So the
Hold on.
total number of Cell in circulation is fixed, is that right? Total number outstanding, sorry, printed, if you like, that's fixed, is it?
Yes,
He can't issue more.
you can't issue more, no.
Okay, yep. And that is then presumably wired into the Ethernet, the Ether,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. So,
Ethereum.
I mean, when it comes to here, I'll share this screen. Where is it?
So I guess assuming that that's true, then my
Is
concerns
this-
about Cell itself then
Mhm.
feed, but my concerns about the bank
Still remain, yeah.
still
Because
remain.
we're still, yeah, of course. Like, does this, when it comes to like a flywheel, like I still try to wrap my mind, like I understand a flywheel in the sense that it's, momentum based model. Collect interest, distribute to members, lend coins, collect interest in coins, buy, sell, distribute to members, user wallet balances increase, issue loans, collect interest. So
It's a bank.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It
Yeah.
takes deposits, paying less interest on the deposits than it makes on the lending. And then there are other capital markets transactions that it does in addition to the lending.
right. Well, I mean, that's the other interesting thing about CeFi and DeFi. So CeFi, central digital currency, and DeFi. Like this would be considered DeFi because, as you already said, yeah, it's a bank that's it's
Totally
kind of,
unregulated.
yeah, it's it's unregulated in the typical banking sense. When I look at it, and it says it's compliance, so I guess it's regulation when it says it's in compliance with the California lenders license. I don't know what ISO is, Delaware.
Well, no, ISO is that's some kind of a standard probably for its programming, but as I understand, it's not being audited and its books are not being published.
Certified anti-money laundering specialists, ACAMS, over that. Focus on transparency. Celsius brings transparency is a critical part of our mission. We do this through sharing information with the community and through our blockchain.
Right, but I mean,
So-
if it is sharing,
Yeah.
what are its assets?
So asset verification through chain analysis. So I guess that's where through chain analysis, I guess you get to see its assets. Chain
Okay.
analysis reactor, the investigate blockchain analysis tool provides the first third-party verification to date of Celsius assets. And then proof of community, and the weekly AMAs, I guess, to see more about the chain analysis. Because chain analysis, I know, is network partners, chain analysis to confirm audit. So it's been audited at 3.3
Confirm audit 3.31 billion in assets. So industry leading
cryptocurrency for
audit confirming.
the completion of the audit confirming by chain analysis, the blockchain analysis, the conclusion of the audit confirmed that through a chain analysis reactor, the investigative blockchain analysis tool provides the first third-party verification to date based on transactions, total deposits, total withdrawals since the launch in 2018. Our audit is a great step in building trust and transparency for community, said Alex Mashinsky.
Okay. So
So it's been audited.
it's been audited. It was audited then a year and 2 months ago, not by an accounting firm, I guess, but by someone who was confirming that transactions had actually gone through as they said that they'd gone through.
Right, but I think the thing with chain analysis, we can do a quick search for it's blockchain and analysis software. Like I know there's a few of these. This dates back to one of our earlier conversations where, or just the whole premise of blockchain, which is everything. Even if it's not a accredited auditor, the premise of the blockchain is that everything is transparent. So it's not this thing
Right.
to, yeah.
That is the transfer of ownership of the individual cryptocurrencies.
Right.
And that's slightly different. Well, it might, if this company is doing nothing but transferring ownership of individual cryptocurrencies, then perhaps that is the whole thing. I mean, it says it's 3 billion. That's about 1/10 of what I think its assets are right now. So,
Right.
I mean, I would be a little bit concerned that one has an event that occurred in December 2020
Right.
that is claiming that that is consistent with transparency going down to 2022, if you see what I mean.
Right. Yeah. Right. So it has to be more regular auditing for maintain transparency.
A cycle, right? And something that is repeated and that is being done by a consistent, by somebody that's brought in consistently.
Right.
And whether the company does the company also deal in currency, US dollars or Canadian dollars?
Analysis. I mean, does Celsius or the chain analysis?
Celsius.
I mean, yeah, it deals in stable coins.
Right. Okay. But does it deal in currency itself?
Not to my knowledge. It just if I log in, I have to switch it to a stable coin. Not I can't hold I can't directly e-transfer my Canadian dollars onto its platform.
I see. Okay. And so that's how it gets around from being classified as a bank.
I see. Right.
Right. Because it's not taking deposits.
Right.
I see. Okay. And so it may be the case that it's individual transactions on each of the coins are all of its transactions, period.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you had an appropriately designed accounting system, then it could aggregate on a minute by minute basis what the books are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if that's the case.
Yeah.
And if it wishes to promote transparency,
Right.
that the question that leaps to mind,
Yeah.
why hasn't it done so?
Right. Or is that in its, is it on the roadmap? Is complete, is, and that's
So-
worthwhile. Yeah, I don't know if that's been asked of it, and I think it's worthwhile to pose the question.
Yeah, almost certainly it's been asked,
Yeah,
because it wouldn't be too difficult a programming exercise,
yeah,
given what it's already done.
yeah, yeah,
And then you could do the summary of those you could summarize it in various ways that would be, quote, consistent with accounting conventions, unquote, or
yeah,
understandable to the individual investor that wanted to
Yeah.
do research.
yeah. Yeah, I'm obviously it's probably been asked. I don't know what its stance on it is, and I'd be curious to find that out for myself as well.
Well, I mean, one of the things that it might say is these are companies' secrets because
Mhm.
we are making money and we don't want to be crowded out by other people that are making money using our
Sure,
system.
that's the standard. Sure.
That would be the logical answer. But
Right.
one could still do it on, a quarterly retrospective basis.
Yeah.
And presumably, given the nature of the community, what is being done is known by the people that are in the community. And so a quarterly delay might, allay that fear. And so the question is, why aren't they doing it?
Sure. I mean, I guess I have a question to you, which is, given what you've seen so far, and I understand 2 weeks ago when we talked about DeFi using MetaMask, that there is nobody, the lack of walking into a brick and mortar bank, it all seems kind of cold. And I told you at that point, and still it will forever be the case, that brick and mortar or not, I feel that coldness when I walk into a brick and mortar bank, considering I don't have $1 million. Given the not just the growing rate of adoption, but equally the ability for to adopt this yourself, like is it given a sort of at least a fraction gained in security? Because I know that another pain point for you when it came to cryptocurrency was the wallet password, seed phrase. That's the nightmare of keeping track of all of that. So knowing that there is a founder, knowing that there is a hotline, there is someone to talk to, there is some semblance of an organization for security and some semblance of transparency. Does this provide for you, Dad, someone who I think to this day, I don't think you mentioned any interest in buying any form of cryptocurrency, would at least the idea of Celsius, does that sort of take a step in that direction towards comfort, or is it still, given what you've mentioned already, that it's not transparent enough? Do all your
I think that Celsius takes a step away.
takes a step away? I see.
And the reason why is because I recognize the institution and it's a bank.
Right. So you'd rather, if you were going to do crypto, you'd rather actually use MetaMask, even though it's cold, or like how would you?
Yeah. I would rather this not be a deposit with an institution that
Mhm.
can at any time freeze my deposit and that doesn't tell me what this is being invested in.
Mhm.
So I don't understand what their model is.
Right.
Right.
So
And so, if it is a bank, it might as well be regulated as a bank.
Right. So
Yeah,
if you're going to be a bank, be a full bank. If you're not a bank, then if you're doing cryptocurrency, then you would go full decentralization. Or
Well, I mean, so as I understand it, MetaMask is much more of a brokerage, and this is it looks like a bank. So MetaMask actually doesn't stand in the middle. MetaMask is the platform, right? Whereas this is an intermediary.
MetaMask is in itself just the wallet is not even a platform insofar like it accesses other um, platforms to do any transactions on. So MetaMask in itself is just a piece of code, piece of software which allows you to hold digital assets, but there's no cloud mechanism.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's being stored on my computer. If I lost my code, I couldn't actually. Yeah, I'm still not clear on where it's being stored because I know that if I lose the seed phrase, then the funds are gone. There's no help desk. So where with Celsius, I can contact someone and say, "Help! I've been lost my password because it's not a seed phrase." Um, so that fear of losing my funds is being circumvented through a company, basically. So I guess the fear of the losing of the funds, I guess that is still not as great as the discomfort of not knowing how your funds are being used. So that's a greater pain point for you than the fear of losing one's funds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the way that they are making the money, and I don't trust Alex
Right.
to put my savings with him.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
And so,
and
what would it take?
no guarantee, that if he could walk with it, and one might not even be able to effectively sue him.
Right. So, for you to have that trust, he would need to be a full-on bank. There's no sort of middle ground there.
Or a full-on bank, or at least making good on his transparent. That's right.
Right. Right. So becoming more transparent. Yeah, that's interesting to me because like these are the different tiers where like you have a full-on platform like crypto.com or Binance, which um, people use to trade cryptocurrencies and they hold the crypto for you. And then you have MetaMask, which has no real, I mean,
No institutional existence.
no, exactly, no institutional existence. And yeah, on even more restrained level, Celsius. I mean, Celsius only it's still slowly developing its platform so that you can trade on the Celsius platform, but you still have that centralized platform that owns your assets.
That's
And
right.
as you've already pointed,
It's fully
yeah.
intermediated.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I find this is when I first got invested in Celsius. I mean, and now I'm less so just because I'm more interested in DeFi and uh, not your keys, not your wallet. Like I'm fully aware if I'm going to be using it, either I'm going to be using it to pay for things, which is what I do with crypto.com, or I'm going to be trading with it, which is what I do on Binance. Or if I'm really going to be getting yield, I'll be getting yield without a middleman telling me how much yield I can or cannot get. I'd rather determine that for myself using yield aggregators like Beefy or other yield farms that I discovered for myself. And I take on that risk for myself. That's the way I approach it. Yeah, it continues to be interesting for me to share this process with you because yeah, I get to see your perspective on things, and yeah, it becomes less of a. I think when I first started talking about this, it felt like a bit of a concerning argument, contentious, like butting of not always butting of heads. There was a sharing of ideas, but there didn't seem to be sort of a full under. Well, there just wasn't the time. There was, I think, ideas being presented, but not kind of a witnessing of the actual platform. And so there's all these sort of beliefs and uncertainties. And yeah, the more we can at least talk about, well, there has been an audit, or this is the founder, or yeah, this, like, the more nuance we can get, at least on some level, the greater I appreciate our conversations, because it's less of a sort of he said, she said, or this is not safe, but rather like, well, these are the
With,
different levels of
with,
crypto.
with Bernie Madoff, he
Mhm.
was in business for well over 20 years. He
Yeah.
gave, during those 20 years, well over market rates of investment return for equal risk.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So people who went in and then got out did very well from Bernie.
Right.
And there were levels of audits of some parts of his operations.
Right.
So he ticked all of those boxes. He was also a well-known person
Right.
in the city of London.
Right.
Alex Mashinsky is also a well-known person in the city of London, where I guess where his headquarters is.
Mhm.
And he's Ukrainian.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I guess is a good thing these days.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, not to say being Russian is a bad thing. It's unfortunate the echo chamber that Putin has created for himself
Yeah.
with his propaganda and propagating the need for anyway. That's a whole separate conversation.
Anyway, so next
Yeah.
week we're doing, does Secret Coin solve the contradictions between transparency, confidentiality, security, and liberty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to turn off the recording right now.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, I know. And then I'll be talking to mom about she wants
Sure.
to invest in CRO, and she wants to need to buy shares of Coinbase, which she's
Yeah.
bought,
Well,
but she
Coinbase is a listed company. They go through all of the hoops,
yeah,
and they're interested in the, in people getting in and out of crypto and making money on that. So it is an interesting model. Anyway, bye-bye.
yeah. But okay, bye.